Good afternoon, everyone. We are Group 1. I am Alta, the first reporter. Together with Bea and Danny, we will be reporting about Philippine cinema and illness. In this report, we will tackle about how illness was presented in Philippine cinema. Let's watch a short clip from Himala.
Walang himala! Ang himala ay nasa puso ng tao! Nasa puso nating lahat!
Himala is a 1982 film directed by Ishmael Bernal and written by Ricky Lee. Himala talks about the evils of blind faith. During the 1980s, 82% of the Philippine population is a Roman Catholic. Ferdinand Marcos was the current president that time. We all know Marcos manipulated the media, such as newspapers, radio, television, and even revising history by propagating that during his presidency was the golden era, although none of his propagandas were true. Many Filipinos remained brainwashed by this blind faith. It even became a culture that masses were aiming for the next president to be a messiah, someone that can fight the injustices of the society, someone that is willing to change the system for a better Philippines. As I said earlier, Ricky Lee wrote Himala. He wrote Himala during his imprisonment for a year in Fort Bonifacio, 1976. He was inspired by being an activist, questioning the struggle of this and that belief, and so on and so forth. Ricky Lee said in an interview for Rappler, "I think the same conditions exist. For Lee, the story of the film remains as relevant as it when it was first came out, perhaps even more so." Himala tells the story of a girl named Elsa, who, after seeing an apparition of the Virgin Mary, begins to heal the local residents of her small town, Kupang. Her perceived powers create a frenzy among the villagers, and even draws visitors and pilgrims from out of town, turning an ordinary woman into a divine being. Lee said that it's nice that his work still remains relevant because the story continues to live on. But he also finds that it's sad and depressing that the issues that are brought to light in Himala still exist, in which he said, "How sad and how depressing also that up to now, there's corruption. Up to now, fanaticism. Up to now, false gods. Up to now, fake news." From Elsa's supposedly paggagamot to her supposedly pagiging buntis. So up to now, fake news and misinformation. Up to now, manipulation of media. Lee said that the themes of Himala still resonate in a society where people continue to look for a savior, a messiah figure, to save them from trouble. Himala was produced by Experimental Cinema of the Philippines. Experimental Cinema of the Philippines, or ECP, was dissolved by Corazon Aquino administration in 1985 due to Executive Order number 1051 series of 1985. Dito na po nagtatapos ang aking report. The next reporter will be Bea.
Ishmael Bernal is known not just as the greatest Filipino poet of cinema, but is also a genius of Filipino cinema, having directed not only Himala in 1982, but a slew of other films that touch on large social issues and themes in the Philippines. Becoming a member of the Concerned Artists of the Philippines, which is a progressive organization created by Lino Broca for artists, as well as the Directors Guild of the Philippines, Ishmael Bernal has consistently confronted Philippine social issues in his well-celebrated filmography, not one of which is Himala. On Himala, Bernal himself describes the film as not just the story of a couple of characters, but also a story of society. What is shown in Himala is the picture of society that is ill, a society which has no recourse but to cling on to apparitions and miracles. It is not important if there really was a miracle or not. What is important is the need of a people to believe. In the context of the film, as well as in the Philippines during the time that the film was created, the Philippines has been Catholic since the time of the Spanish colonial rule, wherein the Philippines was forcibly turned into a Catholic institution after the colonialism and the Christianization of its leaders. By consequence, the years preceding have largely been ruled by the Catholic Church. This is manifested when liberal policies like divorce and abortion are struck down, particularly because of clergymen interfering in politics, in addition to later on things such as the Catholic politicians being able to intervene in taking down bad governments, as well as just having a large influence in politics as a whole. In general, what Himala questions is the hold that faith has over what is seen to be right. Therefore, what it says is, or what it questions at least, is how the Philippines is incredibly not only political and conservative, but also political and religious, to the point where individuals make their decisions based on their religious advances of Christianity, as opposed to their ability to have their own agency. That is the context of the film and how the Philippines has been at the point of 1980s. Notably, the Philippines is also devout to Mother Mary, and this can explain the focus on the film largely on the Virgin Mary of God. While the feminist ideals of the Philippines are not perfect, especially back then, it has been more gender equal compared to most other Asian countries at the time, and perhaps that is the reason why the women are the main center or the focus of the film as characters as opposed to men. Nevertheless, religion is still thought to be largely male when we have a lot of Catholic orders that are primarily male and primarily focus on priests and individuals who are not female identifying. So, what this means is this ties together religion and the belief of people in religion, as well as the ability for this religion to turn people blind, as well as the gendered notions of how we view that religion. While within the film, it also agrees that there are benefits to religion and allows individuals to find communities. At the end, what it warns is about faith being blind and extreme. A reminder to the majority Catholic Philippines to also reclaim its agency, but also possibly interpreted as a means of understanding a reality outside of a Catholic notion pillaged by colonialism, pillaged by the Spanish colonial rule. So that is how the film has been created, and that is the author's profile for Himala.
Thank you, Bea. Hi guys, I'm Danny. Now let's watch a small clip from the trailer of Himala Ngayon.
Sinong pumatay kay Elsa?
All these revealed in one epic documentary. Asari Dalena and Keith Sigatil.
In this documentary, the stars and staff of the 1982 Himala shared a lot of stories, like from how they shot the iconic one-take stampede scene, how they casted the ill extras. They also revealed who killed Elsa and many more. I suggest that you watch this documentary. It's available in Cinema One's YouTube page. Now let's discover the other Filipino films that talks about various illnesses. First on the list is Ipagpatawad Mo.
Mike, alam mo, hindi sira ang ulo ng anak mo. Sinabi ko na sa'yo, hindi siya baliw, autistic siya. Autistic ang anak mo. Mabagal lang ang development ng takbo ng utak niya, pero hindi siya baliw.
This film was recognized by the Autism Society Philippines as the first Filipino movie that tackled autism with seriousness and compassion. This film is available for streaming on iWant TV. Next is a Ricky Lee film and an MMFF 2019 entry, Kulyon.
Pero tanggapin nyo na. Ito lang ang lugar na handang kumugkop sa inyo. Dito na kayo habang buhay.
Kulyon aims to reintroduce the history of the leper colony and address the stigma of leprosy. Next on our list is Kalel 15.
Kaya ka? Ano lang sasabihin ng mga tao? Wala akong kwentang ina? Kaya ka nagkaganyan? Ang ina mo, pinag-aaral kita. Punta lang pala sa wala.
Kalel 15 is a film about lack of sex education, abortion, drug addiction, and more importantly, HIV awareness. You can watch this in Netflix. And last on our list is the controversial film,
Ang baliw, baliw. May sayad, may sapak, may topak, may tililing.
Why is it controversial? Even before its release date, the film stirred controversy over its one, trailer. Second is the title, which is Tililing, also a derogatory slang for insane. And also the poster. Anxiety and Depression Support Philippines publicly expressed their dismay, saying that the movie poster is only feeding the stereotypes instead of helping to break it. They also released their own interpretation of a movie poster about this sensitive topic, with the tagline, "Hindi lahat ng bigat nakikita, yung iba mukhang masaya, pero meron ding problema." But of course, you can't judge the whole movie by its poster, so judge the movie for yourself by watching it in Viva Max. With that being said, this just proves that that illness is a delicate topic to translate on the big screen. Because it's important that the film properly address the real and not just the stereotypical assumptions about any illness. This can only be done with tedious and detailed research about the topic. Perhaps this is why we only have few films that feature this subject. I hope this doesn't stop the filmmakers from doing this kind of film, because film is a great avenue to raise awareness and help the community to be an ally to those who are inflicted with these illnesses. And that's all for our report. Thank you for listening.